All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our call. I certainly appreciate you guys being here on time. My name is Kylan Trower. I'm the Managing Director for MyBusinessCreditCoach.com. And tonight I'm very excited to share some information with you on how to secure up to $150,000 or more for your small business. This is our what we call UCLP client overview. UCLP simply stands for Unsecured Capital Loan Program, and we're going to explain a little bit more about what that means in the next few minutes. But let's just kind of go over and kind of highlight what we're going to review this evening in terms of our agenda. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about how does the program work, right? Then we'll talk about who qualifies, kind of see where you line up or where you fit in terms of the qualifications and how we can help get you there. We'll talk about some client success stories, some individuals who have recently gone through the program successfully. We're also going to have an extra special guest speaker on who's our resident expert. We're going to open it up for some Q&A, and she's going to answer some questions regarding the program. And then we're going to send you guys our web survey and give you our free gift for attending. Okay, so with that, we're going to try to get done in the next 30-35 minutes, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So first and foremost, how does this thing work, right? How can I get $150,000 or more, Kylan, for my business? Well, you know, it all starts with understanding really what it is that we're doing. And this particular program, again, the Unsecured Capital Loan Program includes credit cards, loans, and lines of credit. What we call it is a capital or a funding bundle or a credit bundle. So it may be a few credit cards, a couple loans, a couple lines of credit, but it's not just one loan. What we found is typically individuals that are looking for $150,000 in one loan, their business won't qualify for it. Okay, so what we've done is we've broken this thing out and we've created a way so that you can get the $150,000 that you need, but through several loans. Okay, there's no annual fees. Rates are typically going to be between 5 and about 12%. And this is what we call a performance-based program. What that means is that you don't pay until we secure the capital for you. And our consulting fee is simply 12% of the capital that we raise for you. It's a free qualification, so there's no credit inquiry that's required to go on your record or on your credit profile. Okay, it's a proven system. The individual that you're going to get to hear from in just a few minutes, she actually has mastered this system, and we're so happy to be able to work with her, and we're going to go over exactly what that looks like when we look at some of our client success stories. It's a very simple and easy to execute plan. As long as you meet the qualifications, you can get in and get out of this program very quickly. And again, as I mentioned before, you can secure up to $150,000 or more in combined credit, loans, or lines of credit. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the qualifications. Okay, let's see kind of where you fit. And regardless of where you fit, we're going to help you kind of get in where you fit in, right? Because we're going to help you to move towards these qualifications if you don't meet them out the gate. So some of the basic guidelines. First and foremost, you need a 680 FICO score. Now, we can assist you with this. Now, if you've got a job, you've got W-2 income or pay stubs, and you can prove and verify your income, we can actually help you with as low as a 660 credit score. Okay? So 660 if you've got a job with W-2 and pay stubs. If you don't have that, if you're self-employed, a business owner, and you're not payrolling yourself, then we need at least a 680 FICO score to qualify. You need established and active trade lines. We're going to talk a little bit about that in our Q&A. The least amount of inquiries that you have on your credit profile, the better. Okay, so if you've been out shopping too much, we may be able to help you with that in terms of removing some of the inquiries. But again, the least amount of inquiries, the better. We need you to simply set up an account with creditchecktotal.com. And you're going to send us your login info, your username, password, the last 4 of your social. You're going to send that to your business funding advisor, and they're going to submit that for review. And within 24 hours, you'll receive a call or an email with a loan quote. And typically that quote is going to be a range of about $20,000. So you might receive a $40,000 to $60,000 quote, or an $80,000 to $100,000, or $140,000 to $160,000 quote. Okay, but that's within 24 hours. And at that point, really the ball is in your court, right? You need to simply make a decision whether or not you want to move forward with the funding that we've quoted. Real simple. Okay? Now, let's talk about some client success stories, okay, and what this actually looks like on the other side. Once you've been approved, once you've gone through the program, here's an example of Marcus out of Miami. And as you can see here, Marcus, we're in a position to secure 2 personal loans for almost $40,000. We also received another 4 credit cards for another roughly, $30,000. Okay, so for a total of $62,140, and the purpose of these funds were for a startup and working capital for his mobile application launch. Now, give you an idea, Marcus came to us. He said he needed $30,000 to $40,000 to get this thing off the ground. We doubled that. Okay, so we exceeded the quote that we gave him, and Marcus is a real happy camper right now. Here's another example of a husband and wife team. Now, to give you a little backstory, the husband is a doctor. The wife actually works with him, and she's an office manager for his practice. But recently, they've decided that, you know what, they've kind of had a cap on their income, and they were looking for ways to, earn additional revenue. So what did they do? Well, they decided that they wanted to start doing fix and flip properties. So they wanted to start doing, real estate investing. Okay, so in order to do that, she was going to have to leave the job as the office manager. They're now replacing her as the office they're replacing her, and she's now out looking for properties to invest in with the capital that we're in a position to secure for them. So I'm going to break this down. This is the husband alone, because we went through the process with them both simultaneously, but I want to kind of break this down for you. So we received about $35,000 in the way of 2 lines of credit for the husband, and then an additional 6 credit cards for a total of $93,500 for him. Again, this is investment capital for a real estate fix and flip business. Some of you guys on the call may be in the real estate industry. Maybe you're not in the real estate industry. Bottom line, guys, you can use this money for any purpose. Okay, you can use it for, your daughter's wedding. You can use it to buy a new car. You can use it as a down payment on a new house. You can use it to invest, a startup or seed capital for your business, to invest in real estate as they've done, right? Okay, so the opportunities are endless in terms of what you can do with this capital. Now, the wife, on the other hand, she also was in a position to receive the $35,000 in lines of credit, but she also received another 6 credit cards. And we're going to show you, this is very important on, how to turn those cards or credit cards to cash. We're going to go over that in the Q&A section in just a bit. But she received another $81,500 in total funding. So together, they received over $172,000 in combined funding. Okay, a real strong start for their real estate fix and flip business, right? Okay, so now let's look at one more client, and this is an individual that came to us recently. Interestingly, Franklin is a professional athlete overseas, and he's about to retire pretty soon, and he wanted to start another business to really, help, accentuate his income once he retires. So Franklin was in a position to secure over $100,000 in personal loans, and as you can see here, about $60,000 or $70,000 in unsecured credit cards for a total of just over $170,000. And the business that he wanted to start up was basically a gym. Okay, so he needed startup capital for the equipment and the location here in Southern California. Okay, so again, another incredible success story. Okay, so with that, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to introduce to you someone that I really admire, someone that I really respect, who is really the backbone, the master, kind of behind the scenes of this program. She's been in the lending industry since 2006, was a top-performing originator for Millennium Bank until, as we all know, the banking industry collapsed. She's worked in many different capacities in financing since she initially got involved, but really she's been working as a processor and a funding specialist, helping small business owners secure capital for the last 5 years, and she's the one that's actually mastered this funding strategy and the unsecured capital loan program. What I love about her most, though, guys, is the fact that she's really dedicated herself to studying and understanding a myriad of programs from banks, credit unions, credit card companies, and even some private investors all around the country to help create this program that allows you to take advantage of her knowledge and expertise so that you can gain access to the capital that you need to grow your enterprise. So with that, I'd like to introduce you all to Cheryl Whittington. Cheryl, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Cheryl, again, I really appreciate you being with us tonight. I know you like to kind of stay behind the scenes, but Cheryl's going to be answering a few of the most frequently asked questions that most of our clients have when they get introduced to this program. So, Cheryl, are you ready?
I am. Let's go for it.
All right. Wonderful. Okay, so the first question is, what does a person's credit profile need to look like to maximize their funding as it regards, trade lines, their credit history, maybe primaries versus AU accounts and things like that?
Okay. What I'm looking for when I'm looking at the possibility of funding on a file is I'm looking for the strength of the client. And the strength of the client comes from inside the file. Inside the file being the profile, how old the person is, and what they've obtained. Is there mortgages on there? Are there installment loans? Are there revolving? And also the inquiries. So when we start with the inquiries, I'm looking to see that we haven't, been out shopping, as Kylan had said before. We don't want to see somebody that's out there shopping that a bank might think that something else is going to pop up. They're going to end up overextended. So we try and make sure that there's not a large amount of inquiries. And that's on a case-by-case basis, depending on what the inquiries are. The other thing we're looking for is installment loans. That can be student loans, auto loans, mortgages, any kind of loan that has a fixed rate and termed out. So it's not an open-ended loan. It's a loan that's 5 years, 7 years. Sometimes they're 10, and they have a fixed monthly rate. If we have that, that leads us to the cash if the person qualifies for cash, being they can prove their income. Proving their income with a 1099, a W-2, a tax return. And if somebody is self-employed and has to turn in a tax return, they have to be ready to disclose the business tax return to make sure both tax returns jive with each other for the lender. And then we look at the revolving. Revolving is, how you have managed utilization on your credit cards. So after all that, it's where we look at these trade lines, we're looking to see if there's trade lines that are $2,500 or $5,000 that have been paid consistently, preferably a year, 2 years old, and have been on time. And then we're looking at the revolving. In the revolving, we're making sure that utilization isn't, 70, 80%, because that looks like somebody is ready to go into financial troubles if they haven't paid down their credit cards every month. So that's the general scope of what we're looking at.
Excellent. Now, some people out there, and this is kind of, part B, I guess, to this question, but some people out there are looking at what they call AUs, or authorized users, versus primary accounts. Can you kind of explain the advantage and maybe disadvantage of an authorized user account or piggybacking on someone else's credit?
Okay, an AU, which is an authorized user, is basically an account. It's generally used between a husband and a wife, a parent and a child, sometimes otherwise. Sometimes they're sold. But an AU, it will jump the score. But if you don't have a profile that has other means as installment or other revolving credit that are primaries, it's not doing anything for you. So what a primary trade line is where it's under your name, you are financially responsible for it, because under an AU, you're not responsible for it. You might have access to it, but you're not the one that has to perform. So the bank can't judge you on that AU.
Excellent. So that, and just to kind of recap, there's a lot of folks out there that come to us that have AUs and they don't have any or have very few primary accounts. Again, just to kind of reiterate what I hear Cheryl saying is that, yeah, it'll help your credit score boost, but it's not necessarily going to help you secure the funding that you need because you're not the one with the obligation or that's financially required to perform. Is that what am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, and, an AU can be, 10 years old and have great history, but you haven't performed on that. I mean, maybe you have paid the bill if it's a husband and a wife, but it's not under your name, so it's not based on you. And sometimes sometimes it's not even a help because what it's doing is changing your utilization around.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. So the next question that we have here for you, Cheryl, is how will inquiries, when I go through this program, how will inquiries affect my credit profile?
Inquiries will generally do not affect you. If anything, they're going to, you're going to see maybe a 5-point loss. But that loss will then change the minute what we obtain post your credit report. And that's because it's opening up more utilization for you. So if you have $90,000 in credit cards and you previously only had $60,000, you now have gained $30,000 of open space. Your score is going to jump. So it offsets, and after it offsets, you're looking at a 10 to 20-point gain after you took that loss, if you take any. We do not take a credit report and just kill it with inquiries. If we see an issue, it is a stop.
Well, I know one of the things, and thanks for answering that, but I know one of the things that you always share with me is the fact that every inquiry counts, meaning, a lot of individuals may go out and shop for credit and they have inquiries, but they're not being approved for that credit, and that obviously is going to have a more negative effect than actually having those inquiries and being approved. Would you agree with that, or is that a proper explanation for, how to look at inquiries?
Yes, and when you say that, you also have to look at when there's inquiries and you are approved, those accounts are on there. So let's say somebody comes in and they've just gotten like 2 or 3, 4 new cards or installment loans or something. They've now just put themselves where banks, when we go out to procure the funding, they're making it a lesser amount for us because banks do not want to see you what they call as escalating debt. They do not want you to jump at a high rate of debt to make sure you can handle what you're getting.
Exactly.
So it's basically a step-by-step process.
Excellent. Okay. And so the next question that I have here is, because, as we saw with some of the client success stories, that there were, tens, actually hundreds of thousands of dollars that were secured with credit cards. So how can one quickly and inexpensively convert those credit cards to cash for those non-credit card expenses they may have?
When you're getting cash in that avenue, it's a much cheaper route. And we'll take an example because it's an even number of $100,000. And if somebody is wanting half of it being in conduit cards. These conduit cards, you don't care what your cash advance fee is. You don't care what any of that is, because you're going to take 0% credit card that you're going to get also, and you're going to pay off the conduit card. So if you have a card that's $25,000 and you take off $25,000, you then in turn take the 0% card and balance transfer, and most cards that right now have balance transfers promos, and you pay the conduit card off, and you now have a loan at 0%. And you keep rotating them as you need them. And you can, obviously you pay the credit cards back after you've sold a house or done a business transaction or are capable of paying that off. But in the meantime, you're paying 0% during the term that you have that. So it's a lot cheaper than cash in general.
That's huge. I think that, obviously, credit cards may get a bad rap, or there may be some misconceptions around credit cards. But, I just really believe that with the proper understanding and obviously the right cards utilized the right way, you can really do very well in the way of cost and interest long term, as well as have the opportunity to just pay for what you use on a consistent basis. I know a lot of individuals that are using cards to purchase property. They actually purchase it for cash. They're in a position to go in without a hard money lender breathing over their neck with 3 or 4 points and 12%, 15% interest rates in some instances, and it just makes a lot of sense long term. But the same can be said for more traditional businesses. It's just really a matter of understanding your ROI, utilizing the credit on a revolving basis. I would say where you're spending money on whatever it is, your equipment or inventory, flipping that inventory, putting the money back on the credit card, and doing it all over again. And just the management process, I think, is really important there. So thank you so much for that explanation. The next question here is, what documentation is required to secure cash funding? So I know we have, credit cards and lines of credit, which are revolving, but if we want to actually secure cash, what documentation is typically required?
On cash, we're going to have W-2s or 1099s. With 1099s, we'll have a tax return, and then self-employment will bring in, you'll have personal tax return and a business tax return. And if you're a W-2 employee, you would have to then prove 2 pay stubs.
Gotcha. So really limited documentation. I mean, I know, we do a lot of different types of business loans, but this particular program is really the least cumbersome when it comes to paperwork, because a lot of our files, they want, 6 months bank statements, 2 to 3 years tax returns, profit and loss, and, balance sheets, and just a whole myriad of things. So the documentation seems pretty light on this program. The last question it looks like we have here is, once a client decides to move forward, they say, hey, you know what, I've got a quote. Let's say you got an $80,000 to $100,000 quote. What is really their role in the process once we start to move forward to secure funding on their behalf?
When a client moves forward, they have to be ready to basically participate. They have to participate in the means of speaking to lenders, verifying their identity with a lender. With credit cards, you're generally not going to see a lot of that, maybe 10, 20%. But with cash, you will speak to a lender. You will, go through why you need the money. It's a simple phone call, maybe 3 to 5 minutes long, and just to prove your identity and that you are going to use the money for either a large purchase, nothing technical, and that they just know that you're the person behind it.
Gotcha. So in other words, I mean, this would just be a normal verification type process that any bank or lender would go through when issuing or funding a client for any type of loan, is what it sounds like to me.
Yes, because all cash goes directly to clients. So when that cash is released, they want to make sure that it's going directly to the client's bank account and that they know that it will be there and to look for it in the next 2 to 3 days.
Excellent. Well, that's all the questions that we have right now, Cheryl. I want to thank you again for being with us and really sharing your knowledge and expertise, having dealt with literally, hundreds of clients and millions of dollars in funding. That's really invaluable just to kind of give us a peek behind the curtain. What I want to do at this point is just kind of close out. I told you I'd get you guys out of here really quickly. So what I want to do at this point is just kind of go over some of the benefits of the program that we may not have covered over the last 20, 30 minutes. So first and foremost, I want everybody to understand that this is unsecured capital, guys. There's no collateral required. So you don't have to put up your house or your car or your business or anything for that matter to secure this capital. That's huge. As we just mentioned, it requires minimal documentation, just pretty much verification of your income. If you've got income, if you don't, just verification that you are who you say you are. Real simple. This is a program that's ideal for startups and established businesses. So no matter where you are in the continuum of your business's growth, we can help you with this particular program. It's very quick turnaround. We didn't talk much about that, but literally this process takes between 5 and 15 days, start to finish. Okay, so very, very quick funding. You can definitely have all of your capital in less than 30 days. Revolving lines are available, which we explain. You only pay on what you use, which is huge. And there are some 0% interest rates for the first 60 to 21 months that are available on some of the credit cards, which actually take the aggregate cost of any of this program or the entire program down to less than 6% when properly managed. Now, I talked to you guys about some of the more traditional business loans. The best business loans out there, guys, are at or just below 6% right now. And you're going to need every single document and collateral and all types of things in order to qualify, which I'll be honest, about 90% of the clients that come to us don't qualify for example, an SBA loan. They just don't have either the time in business, the proper documentation, or they have the documentation, but it doesn't meet the lender's requirements. Okay? We showed you how the credit cards can quickly be converted to cash. We've got an entire video and a credit card management spreadsheet that takes you about 5 minutes a month to manage, which is huge. And this may also strengthen your personal and your business credit profiles. Okay, so bottom line is there are huge benefits to this program, and we really just want you to take an opportunity to get started to figure out how much you're qualified for. Okay, and it just starts by going to creditchecktotal.com. The business funding advisor that invited you here this evening can get that information over to you. As soon as we're able to review your credit report, we'll give you that quote. And once you receive your quote, again, the ball is in your court, and it's just a matter of your decision to move forward or not. Okay, but find out what you're qualified for. So with that, guys, in closing, I want to just give you guys the link to our web survey so we can get you our free gift. And our free gift is basically how to secure $50,000 in unsecured business credit regardless of where your personal credit profile is today. Even if you're in the 500 credit profile or 500 credit range, we're going to show you step by step how to secure $50,000 in business credit with this free ebook. But in order to receive the ebook, you simply need to do one of two things. First, you can either visit bit.ly, bit.ly /UCLP survey, and the UCLP and the SN survey is all caps, as you can see on the screen. Or you can simply email us at support@mybusinesscreditcoach.com. Just say free gift in the subject line, and we'll send you the survey. It'll take you about 3 minutes to complete, and immediately you'll receive your ebook on how to secure $50,000 in unsecured business credit regardless of your personal credit profile. Okay? So with that, guys, I want to thank you guys for being with us. Have a wonderful evening. I want to thank you, Cheryl, once again for sharing your insight, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye for now.